How to manifest and other magical powers. So the Knave of Swords keeps coming to me, and the other things I wanted to talk about in one of the oracle readings, I was trying to remember the different, and these are, miracles that Jesus performed, and so this is the magic, the miraculous magic of Jesus. This is what I'm talking about. So, and um, animals bring forth a lot of these messages, and especially this time of year, it's a very prolific time of year. Spring and fall both are very prolific, So it's the blossoming, and then it's the harvesting, and so the Knave of Swords, in the traditional meaning, it's like a watchman. So they're very observant. They see all the comings and goings. They are the eavesdroppers. They hear all the conversations. So they're like the spider on the wall. They're the thing that goes unseen, unnoticed. So that's concealment. Through concealment, we can observe these things. So it doesn't mean that you become invisible. It means you get into a place of stillness and silence. You can be in a crowd, it doesn't matter. And just through being in that space, that energy, you can observe so many dynamics unfolding and playing themselves out, and just in your immediate line of sight. So this Knave of Swords, it's kind of Geminian energy too. Like it can, that's another one. Exorcism. Okay. Let me write that down. That was another one that I was trying to remember. And it's interesting because that came to me the other night, and then I watched a video, one of my sisters out here, and then she mentioned that, and I'm like, okay, so this is definitely an energy that's coming up too. And it has to do with these things coming back to us, okay? The ancient wisdom, knowledge, skills, okay? The other the more magical Melchizedek teachings of Jesus, okay? So this knave, so Gemini, black, white, the discernment, good, bad, it's very aware, very discerning, very aware of duality. So it has that very clear discernment, okay, and represented by the twin. So so it sees both sides of everything, and both halves, and to see the whole picture, right? And so the Knave of Swords energy is kind of like just the thing the thing that's happening. So they're just hearing the conversations, they're seeing the comings and goings, they're just observing what is, okay? So what's available to them, what information, the knowledge is power, so they have information on people, they hear their conversations. So they have the knowledge of these things. They can make these connections, see this whole big picture, they see the workings, the mechanics of things. So what this represents is just this essence of this energy, universal energy that we can all tap into, okay? But if you're coming from... So the knave can decide what to do with this information. They can use it to blackmail people, or they can use it to, like, bring water to the village, right? So that's why it just represents this potentiality of all these different magical, miraculous things that by harnessing this energy, okay? So if you're coming from unity consciousness, everything coalesces, okay? That's what light is. Everything becomes enveloped in the light. So anything that comes to the light becomes part of the light, coalesces to the light, back to the mother droplet, That's unity. That's oneness. Everything is light. All light. Everything together as one mother droplet. Okay, so once you coalesce back into the mother droplet, you dissolve. Okay, all the little baby droplets like forming on a windshield when it's raining or a window, they coalesce into a bigger and bigger, so they shed any identity of self, and they just become the oneness, the coalescence. So that's what happens with light too. It's just like water. And now it's just one skin. Okay, you had your, like water has a skin to it. Okay, that skin dissolves, and your skin is your if you can just picture that visual. Okay, and but if you're coming from a dualistic perspective, see, the oneness embodies the oneness, but is aware that there is the perspective of duality, not another perspective of darkness. No, another perspective being that of duality, just like the two types of goo. So the oneness sees that duality exists over here, okay? But duality only sees what's in opposition of itself. So oneness, sees itself, sees oneness, but also sees duality, not opposing duality, not anything of opposition, just sees that this consciousness duality exists. But the duality sees the light as opposing, light and dark as opposing. Because it's separates itself from the light. Now it's opposing the light. You see, there's no separation. Sin is in the separation. Sin is the darkness. Okay? Sin is in the separation. In the light, in the oneness, the coalescence, there is no separation. But we are aware, because we're observant. We see everything is illuminated. So we are aware of this other consciousness, of this other dualistic consciousness. Okay? This other reality, this other actuality that exists, okay, as duality. And as far as now harnessing these energies, okay, this Knave of Swords, the potentiality, what are you going to do? Light or dark? With this information that you've gathered. You've observed your world, yourself, okay, we're aware of what Jesus was able to do. So that's kind of the concealment part of it, so you can observe, be the observer, and gain this understanding and this awareness, okay? And so I keep getting like the Pet Cemetery version of like resurrection and all that stuff, okay? If it's coming from a place of lack, place of darkness, place of dualistic consciousness, then it's going to be oppressive, and the thing is not going to be its organic self. Okay, like when they buried the cat, and the cat came back to life, and the people came back to life, and they were not, okay, of the light. Now, when Jesus like resurrected Lazarus, when he performed his miracles, so let me just go through them. Okay, so the concealment is so that we can observe our world, so that we can better help facilitate the proliferation. Now the dark, coming from the dualistic perspective, I don't want to say light and dark, because there's light and oneness, and then there's duality. That perspective, there's the two dynamics that are happening. So, because it's like the unity consciousness at the center of the Vajra, or whatever you want to call it, and then there's the polarity. So there's the dualistic expression happening, and then there's also oneness. It's all happening at the same time, though, okay? And it's all one if you look at it like that, in a 3D form, like a Vajra. But, so with concealment, what the light does is we get to observe so that we can do things that are for the greater good, whether it's holding a high vibration, whatever we can do, okay, to help facilitate that even more. not interfere, just help to foster that, help to protect the proliferation, like a tree reseeding itself. We don't need to do anything. We just have to make sure if there's a drought, we bring some water to the wild berry bush, or whatever we need to do in order to help just protect the proliferation. That's the stewardship. Now, when the dualistic mentality uses concealment, they use it to hide. Okay, so that they can manipulate and do things from the shadows to take away and destroy, to lie, manipulate. So this is an oppressive, manipulating people's will. And and without them knowing. Okay, so that's like black magic. It's like love spells and all this stuff. Okay, so, but when the light does it, it calls in the permission of the other. So, and it's always calling for the greatest good of all. Okay, when we use these energies, this knowledge and these powers, these energies, we harness it for that. Okay, the dualistic uses it to hide. With concealment, hide. Okay, so shame, guilt, all that stuff. The resurrection, okay, so like the Pet Cemetery, the dark, they want to do resurrection, yeah, but it won't be sustainable, okay? This is the thing, is when you're doing it from God code, it's already encoded to be prolific. If it's from the highest vibrational, all the white light, the benevolence, the unified rainbow, the highest benevolence, the most high God, source creator. Those are sustainable because the proliferation of God is encoded in the highest of intentions. If it's of the highest benevolence, it's already encoded in that. So all you need to do is tap into that. Okay, because it already is encoded to protect the proliferation. So these things are sustainable. These manifestations are sustainable. These healings are sustainable. The resurrection, so with Lazarus, I'm not saying I'm any kind of Bible scholar, but just tuning into the energies, it was like he already knew if Lazarus agreed that he had a need to come back down and that he agreed to do so, that it would be an instant, because Jesus met him halfway. All Lazarus had to do, his soul, just had to agree. And if it didn't agree, then it didn't happen. So that's what being coalesced with the divine will is just knowing, just doing it, just knowing. And then if it doesn't happen, well, that's God's will too. That's why I just said, Lazarus, come forth. He just manifested it through just protecting the proliferation. If it was meant to be so, if it was God's will, and Lazarus agreed, then it was divine order for it to be so, and it was so, right? So and then healing, and so manifestation too, you can manifest a bunch of horrors and money and all this, okay, but if it's coming from a place, you can manifest money, but if it's just to go get drugs and whores and all that stuff, okay, then it's not going to be sustainable. If it's to start a foundation for healing, for sharing information, all that kind of stuff, then it will be sustainable and it will be prolific. It will the proliferation is encoded. It will be protected. It will go on for generations. Okay. And the healing is like, really, that's a harmonizing, okay? When you get into heart center, everyone else is a heart center. It's a like exponential, like amplifier of faith, and that's when we harmonize. When we're all in that 528 hertz, that love vibration, green, emerald green, everything green, then we have this healing that comes forth. So healing is really harmonizing. And if you think of harmony, hormone, okay, when that's balanced, and then another thing about hormones is like getting back to being more childlike, you know, and not like, remember when we weren't, before we went through puberty, we weren't like obsessed about uh, sex or being, we didn't have like sexual addictions, watching internet porn, all kind of whatever that we deal with in our adulthood. We have to remember, you know, what were we like as children, okay? Things were so simple, right? Just getting outside, playing in the water, in the sunshine, or if it wasn't sunny, you know, puddle stomping, hot chocolate. I mean, just making everything so magical and fun in such a simplistic way, so simple and easy, just with such ease. So, and that's the energy that I feel coming from the animals and trees. Everything's just prolific right now, and everything's budding, and the fig tree looks like it has little green torches on it where all the new leaves are sprouting out at the tips. It looks like it's on fire, like little flames at every tip, but it's bright lime, like spring green, you know. It's just gorgeous, and the birds chirping, and hearing the frogs and crickets at night. Everything is so prolific right now. And so it's just natural that we're feeling that as well. So you know, and then I just wanted to touch on the exorcism thing. A lot of us, and I know since a very young age, I've battled demons in my sleep, in my dreams, in the astral, I guess you can say. And through people down in the 3D, demons work through people and stuff too. So, or they try to work through you, and you know, so there's this conscious awareness, you know, the Knave of Swords. So we need to be aware of how the darkness works. Okay, that falcon energy. Okay, we're of the highest vibration, benevolence, but we can swoop down in the caverns. We see how it all works, the mechanics of it all, because we need to know how they're using these energies for wickedness, okay? Because we know how to use it for good, the white light, we know all that. The falcon, remember, is a little bit different than the eagle. We can swoop down in the caverns. We're like the front lines. We're ancient souls. We're like ancient, all the way back to the beginning when the infection first happened, which I think pretty much happened from the very beginning. Right from the onset. They couldn't wait to sink their claws into us and stuff, right? So, because we're so juicy and fertile, and the proliferation, right? They couldn't wait to just suck that. So, this is why we need to know these things, that you know, how to battle demons. It's not even about battling them. We bind them, dissolve, and vanquish them. There is no battle. Because when you're the white light, all you need to do is shine your light. They become enveloped and dissolved into the light. Or they scatter. There is no battle. You see, what the battle is internal, maintaining that oneness, the light. Okay, so I was gonna say that how they use exorcism. Well, they're more of like trying to get the demon into the vessel, and we're doing the opposite of liberating and freeing God's children. So it's just a push or pull of demonic influence, basically, where the duality perspective wants a lot of demonic influence, and the light does not. We want to transmute all darkness into light. So we have to understand how the darkness operates, right? We need to understand, know thy enemy. And when you really know thy enemy, you know that there is no actual battle. Like I said, it's internal. It's the main maintenance of that light. Okay, and it's sustainable. All you need to do is allow for it. It's constant. It's God's light. So it never turns off. As long as you don't put a drape in the way and cast a shadow on yourself. Don't put any blocks up, and okay, then your light, wherever you go, you envelop, you transmute. Envelop all darkness, coalesce it into the light. All is transmuted into light. So we just need to maintain that light. You can call it a high vibration or whatever, it's just light. So, I love you all. Blessings to you all. Peace be upon you all.